Sometimes people will observe other people and say, wow, they're not very frugal. Or they'll observe other people and say, wow, they are too frugal. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about frugal judgment, some of the things that you might not realize people are doing that are frugal. And we're going to talk about some of the frugal rules that I live by. I hope you'll stick around. Hi, I'm Bonita and I am early retired. I'm not old enough yet for Social Security. I'm living on a low income and I am living off of savings. And right now, I'm spending the winter in my RV in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. I normally live in Kansas. I have frugal videos all year round, and I hope that you will join me this year in 2025 as we share ways to save money and live our dreams. I wanted to touch on some items today that we might not think about being frugal when we look at how some people live, but they really are frugal. And they may not even realize that they're being frugal because they may be doing it for a whole nother reason, but they may be doing it to save money as well. So today we're going to talk about what a few of those things might be. Have you ever visited anyone and they have the toilet with two different flush options, one for pee and one for number two? And those are to save water. And they usually are paying for their water. So that can be something that is frugal that we might not even think about because we might be thinking, that's a fancy toilet to have those two options. And maybe we don't even know what those two different buttons on top are for. But I have a family member that has one of those toilets, and it is to save on water and save on their water bill. So, yes, that is absolutely a frugal thing. Another thing is maybe somebody has an outdoor pool, but they do all of their own chemicals in that pool. That is usually to save money. Pool maintenance is really expensive. And sometimes we can look at someone with a pool and say, wow, they must spend a lot of money, not realizing that they do all the pool chemicals on their own. Some people do a lot of their cooking at home with really good food and really good quality products, but they look at that as being frugal because they are keeping themselves from going out to eat and they can make restaurant quality meals right at home for a lot less that they enjoy better, and maybe they really enjoy cooking. I have a son that also does his own sourdough and keeps a sourdough starter in the fridge. That is another frugal thing. They make their own bread, they enjoy their own home cooking, and it is delicious because I have eaten it. Those are some things that sometimes we don't know behind the scenes that are going on in people's homes. And we have to remember that every choice everybody makes about how they spend their money is their own personal choice. But sometimes from the outside looking in, we don't realize that some of those choices are really frugal. Wearing a sweater and turning down the temperature can be a frugal thing to do. And a lot of us have talked about that on frugal channels. But have you ever gone to someone's house and it's always chilly and you always need to wear a sweater, and maybe in the winter they're always wearing hoodies? That's usually a good indicator that they're trying to save on their bill. And they prefer those hoodies because they're cozy and they're soft and they can turn down the heat and still have the best of both worlds and save a little money doing it. Many people have mixed things like this going on in their homes. Some are frugal, some are not frugal things, but the things that are frugal make up for the things they choose to not save money on because they see a value in that. So, judgment on frugalness, it is really a personal observation and a personal choice of where we want to save money and where we feel there is a value in spending it. Now, let me tell you some of the frugal rules that I live by. For the last 3 years, my frugal goal has been to not waste any food. And I have to be really careful about that down here, cooking for one in my camper. If I make very much, I have to eat it or I have to find room to freeze it. So what I will do is I will cook a amount that I know that I can eat on my own. Maybe I'll make a second item or even a third item in a smaller quantity, and then I will rotate those items so that I don't get tired of them, but also make sure that the stuff doesn't go bad. Now, I made some cornbread and it made me 7 muffins. I put 1 muffin in each bowl of beans and I ran out of beans with 4 muffins left. So I just made another pot of a different type of bean. And I will use those 4 muffins and I will alternate them with the other foods that I have in my refrigerator to try to use those up before they go bad. That's just a few things that I do to try to make sure that I don't waste any food. My first payment of the month doesn't come until around the 15th. And that is if I get a payment from TikTok, and I don't always get a payment every month. And when I do, it's usually just enough to fill my car with gas. So my first real payments don't come until around the 20th of every single month. And I have to make sure that I don't spend or overspend during those first 19 days each month. That's tough for a lot of us. And that's where my food pantry comes in handy. Those first 19 days, I need to watch my spending because I am living off of what I have in my checking account, if I have anything in my checking account, until those payments come in and I see what they're going to be. Many of us have maybe a once a month paycheck and we have to live like that. So, not wasting food plays a big part in saving money. The second thing that I do is I believe that small decisions actually add up to building me security. And that's why I call this channel Pennies to Dollars, is because I save my pennies where I can and eventually they add up to be dollars. So all of those small decisions and small areas on saving actually end up to amount to something later on when I build on that idea. Many frugal people look at it like this. And I know in Canada, they don't have pennies, so they believe in saving their nickels to add up to dollars. The third rule that I follow as a frugal person is I value my time as well as my money. And usually, people that are frugal are good time managers. So, when I am going shopping in Kansas, I can have a Dillon's, a Walmart, and an Aldi right there on 3 corners in the same town. And all I have to do is keep track of where is the cheapest items or what the sales are and run right across the street and pick those items up, sometimes at 3 stores. But down here in Texas, I have to shop differently. There's a Walmart and there's an HEB, and all of these are like 10 to 15 minutes apart, which doesn't make sense to go to one for a few items and go to another for a few items for just one person. So I keep a running list of what I need, and then I look at what I need most that week, and then I know which store has the majority of the items that I need that cost the least, and I only go to that store and pick up those items. And then I figure out what I can make from that. I don't go to both stores when I grocery shop. I don't spend the gas and the time to run to both of them just to get a few items. It just doesn't make sense. So let me know how you shop. Do you have grocery stores that are discount, that are clustered together where you can do that like I do in Kansas? Or are your grocery stores spread out like they are for me here in Texas? And you have to choose your time and your money carefully, and you have to choose your shopping list carefully based on where you choose to shop that week. The fourth rule that I follow is I watch the weather closely, and I watch it to determine what I should be cooking. I learned it so much about this when we owned our own rural grocery store in a town of under 500 people. When the weather would turn cold, chili beans, chili packets would fly off the shelf. Everybody would come in to make chili. And it was like they had nothing in their pantry to make the chili. They would come and buy all the products to make it right then because it was going to be cold. So I keep a variety of things in my pantry for cold weather and for hot weather. And I packed both of them for coming down here. I know January is cold and I know it is rainy and cold right now. So I want something hot. But when it turns to be in the 80s and 90s, I'm going to want something cold. So I look at the weather to decide what I'm going to make and am I going to be able to eat that and finish that before the weather changes. A lot of us eat based on the temperature outside. And it's something I had never really thought about before, but it's absolutely true. So planning our menus and how much we make of that food should be based a lot on the weather. At least it is for me. And I save a lot of money doing that because I'm one of those people. I don't want to eat chili when it's 90 degrees outside. I know some people do, but I just don't crave that. I want something more like tuna salad. So that is one thing that I do to save money and cut back on food waste. The fifth frugal rule that I have been following, especially since I retired, is I'm only replacing items as I wear them out in my closet. For instance, I have these Cuddle Duds underneath this t-shirt today. It's kind of like Under Armour. They're super warm, they're super thin, they're soft, and I actually wore out the two that I had, so I replaced them before I came to Texas this year. Now, you're going to see me in a lot of the same clothes while I'm down here this season for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't have very many t-shirts that didn't have stains from working around the house, so I only brought 3 t-shirts. And two, I'm really trying to wear things out, and I get some satisfaction when I wear something out and I actually throw it away and know I got the maximum use out of that. I didn't do that when I was working. I didn't really think about it. But now that I'm home and I know how precious my dollar is since I'm not working 9 to 5, I try to get the maximum use out of my clothing. So you're only going to see me in about 3 t-shirts until it gets warm enough that I can wear some sleeveless stuff. But these Cuddle Duds have been worth the money, and I'm so glad that I replaced them because I am using them right now in January. It's rainy, it's cold, and I can dress like this in here without wearing a jacket and still be comfortable because they're super warm. And I know someone will ask me about them, so I will leave a link in the description box if you're interested. But again, they are called Cuddle Duds. You will hear me give a lot of tips and tricks on saving money on food on this channel because I truly believe that food is one of the areas that is the most flexible in our budget, and we have the most ability to build some extra cash flow there that will help us month to month. So, do you have any frugal rules that you follow, like me, with the no food waste? Do you have any areas that you really stick to on living frugally that you believe helps you in the long run? Also, I'm curious, have you observed any other areas that you see people do that you think that's not really that frugal? But then when you get a closer look, it is really frugal. Their life may be different than yours, but they've found a way to manage and save money in areas that is actually frugal. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up. If you have watched a few of my videos and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me so very much. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.